All right, here on problem 11, we're going to evaluate the arithmetic series. All right, now for our formula for arithmetic series, we're going to use S sub n is equal to n over 2 times a1 plus a sub n. Now an is going to be our last term. Now in this particular one, we're given everything we need. We just have to plug in. So we go S sub n is equal to n, which is 20. So there's 20 terms over 2. The first term is 25. The last term is 177. Alright, and so what we're going to do is just follow orders of operations. So we end up with 10, and then we end up with 25 plus 177. So we end up with 202. And then we'll multiply that together. So S sub n is equal to 202. So 2020. So if we took every term from 25 to 177, there's 20 of them, and add them all up, we would end up with the sum of 2020. Now, if you want to, we're just going to check our answer, see what the computer came up with, and that's the same thing we came up with ours. Here, same type of problem. So it's going to be 9 over 2 is equal to 23 plus 79. So we're going to add the 23 and the 79, which would be 102, and we're going to multiply that by 9 divided by 2. Okay, and so we end up with 459. And again, this is a shorthand. The formula is a shorter way to just go ahead and add up all those terms. Now, here we only had 9 terms, so we may have just add them all up, and it would have been okay. But again, once we get more and more terms, the formula can help us out with that. And to check our answers, see what the computer came up with, it's 459, which is what we ended up with. Alright, same type of problem. I'll go ahead and do it. Here, again, we end up with S of n is equal to 8 divided by 2, then 14 plus 63. Okay, so we're going to end up with 4, and then 14 plus 63, which would give us 77. Multiply that number by 4, and we end up with a total of 308. So S sub n is equal to 308. So basically here we're just given all the information, and we have to plug it into the formula. Alright. Now, here we have sigma notation. So we're basically given an explicit formula, and we had to go find some information. So this tells us to start with the first term and go to the 15th term and add them all up and figure out what they add up to, or the sum of them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is find the first term. So we're going to take 1, plug it in for m, to figure out what the first term is. So here we'll end up with 9 minus 14, and so we end up with negative 5 for our first term. Now our a sub n, which will be the 15th term, it's going to be the last term that we're told to add up. So a sub 15, which is also a sub n. So if that confuses you, you can just leave it as a sub n. Alright, we'll take 9, and then we'll plug in 15 for n, and subtract 14 from it. Remember, you got to multiply first before you subtract. So we end up with 9 times 15 minus 14 should give us 121. Okay, now that we have all the information, we go back to our formula we used in the last problem, where it's n sub 2 over a1 plus a sub n. Okay, now here we have 15 terms, so it's 15 divided by 2. The first term we found to be negative 5. The last term we found to be 121. Okay, and so what we'll end up with here is taking the negative 5 and adding 121 to it. Different signs, we technically end up subtracting, so we end up with 116. Okay, 15 divided by 2 is going to give us, it's not a whole number, but it'll give us a 0.5. So we end up with 7.5. So we take the 7.5 and multiply it times the 116, which gives us 870 for our sum. Alright, let's check our answer just to make sure the computer agrees with us. Doesn't mean that it's right, but anyway, we ended up with the same answer here. So that's good for us. Alright, now, same type of problem. Arithmetic series. We've got to find A1 first. Alright, so A sub 1, we're going to multiply 2 times 1 and then subtract, so we end up with 1 for A1. Alright, A sub n, which in this case is A sub 6. We're going to take the 6, plug it into the K value. Alright, so we end up with 2 times 6 gives us 12 minus 1, so A sub 6 is equal to 11. Which remember, A sub 6 is A sub n, okay, because A sub n is just the last term in the sequence, and we're doing 6 terms. Alright, so S sub n is equal to n over 2 times A1 plus A sub n. So n over 2, sorry, is 6 over 2, which will eventually give us 3, but A sub 1 is 1. We're going to add A sub n, which is in this case 11, so we'll end up with 12. So we'll end up with 3 times 12, which will give us 36. So our sum is 36 for this particular arithmetic series. And just to double check, that's what the computer came up with as well. Alright, number 16. A sub 1. Okay, again, we plug in 1 in for the m, so we get 3 minus 11. Okay, so we subtract 11 from 3, we end up with negative 8 for A sub 1. Now, A sub n, which is, again, A sub 12 in this case. Okay, again, our n is coming from here, coming from the 12. So we're going to take 12, plug it into the m, so it's 3 times 12 minus 11. So we end up with 36 minus 11. Okay, we end up with 25. So that's our first term, last term. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take the 12 divided by 2. Again, that's the n comes from up here. So it'll be 12 divided by 2, and then we'll have negative 8 plus 25. Okay, so we'll end up subtracting because they have different signs. So we end up with 17 times 6. Okay, so the sum of this series is going to be 102. Okay, so remember, with series, we're taking all the terms in a particular sequence and adding them together. Okay, and our formula over here gives us a shorthand way to do that. And that's how you would do problems, those types of problems, 11 through 16.